to them who are the called according to his purpose. Now, my wife and I have what the world would call, and most evangelicals would call, I didn't say Christians, but evangelicals, there's a difference, a bad marriage. Now, they have a bad marriage too, but they're phony, they're fake, they're liars, and we don't hear about them until everything falls apart, and we read about them in the funny papers, okay? These liars, they're in the church, they're phonies. They look good, they talk good, they talk a good game, they got their smile down pat. In the words of Niles Crane, when he was approaching his future wife, he would say, okay now, and they'll be at a party, okay now, is this your party smile here? Is this real? We need to ask some church folks that. Woo! We need to ask some church folks that. Okay, now is this your church, little grin, or is this real? Seriously, okay. See, I was raised up in that kind of foolishness, and I told my wife, and this is what some of you people need to do, you young people, before you get married, you need to do some prenuptial things. To them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. And we're going to hear what Dr. Guzik has to say about that. And then we're going to explore one or two verses regarding the family. But my main point I want to say to you tonight, young people and couples, is that if you cannot be thankful for your bad marriage, then that marriage is not going to last. When I say thankful, I'm talking about thankful to God. I'm not saying you're being thankful just to each other. I'm talking about being thankful to God. Because there are things built in a marriage. Number one, you need to be thankful to God because God is sovereign. Whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, God is the one who put you all together. And if you got married for real, and you got the license and the preacher and the church and the reception and the whole shebang, I assure you God put that together. Now, the devil is always in the mix. He was in the Garden of Eden. And your flesh and your sinful nature and your upbringing is in the mix. But you can't blame your bad marriage on God like so many of you do. Oh, I married the wrong person. And they saying the same thing about you. But what happened to this wonderful wedding you spent $25,000 on? And this wonderful honeymoon, another $25,000 enough. They may look like the Brady Bunch in church, but they're the Addams family at home. You spend a good 2 or 3 weeks there is what I suggest. And y'all take care of some prenuptial things. Yes, if you want to take care of the prenuptial money, if you have some money. But you need to take care of some other prenuptial things. Both parties need to know what is expected of them. Yes, I know it's about the sex right now, but later on it's going to be about some other things. How to be thankful for a bad marriage. Dr. Guzik points out God's help is an enduring promise. He has the ability to work all things for good and to see us through glorification. Did you get that? And don't tell me that's not true, because I know it's true. This is why the old saints used to say, God will make a way out of no way. Glory be to God. Okay? God specializes in taking bad situations and making them good, for them to turn out good. It may take you 40 years to see it. See, and in our instant uh, gratification, a world in which we live, we want it now and we want it my way. And if you don't do it right, I'm going to come out this drive-through, and shoot you. I don't think Burger King ever thought that when they say you can have it your way, that people would start shooting people who won't give it to them their way. Got a problem with doing so. Okay, that's the kind of world we live in today. We want everything our parents have in the first 6 months. And that's not how it works. If you know anything about God, things are not instant. It's a process, and there's a process involved for your good. Okay? My wife and I, she's here right now. I've made it very clear that we don't have a great marriage. We have what many people in the evangelical circles would call a bad marriage, but we're still married. And half of the people in the church, over half of the people in the church are divorced. And the evangelicals who say otherwise, they're lying. You know why they lie? Because they want everybody to think they're wonderful and great and dandy. I don't care whether you like it or not. I'm telling you, they're not. Some of the greatest hypocrites, some of the greatest Pharisees, some of the biggest hypocrites, some of the biggest Pharisees and Sadducees in the world are evangelicals. They know better, they know the word, but they won't choose to do better. They are the Laodicean Judas church, and I know I got people who are mad at me for saying that. Well, I wouldn't say it if they would confess it, okay, and admit it. With over 1,600, 1,700 with us here tonight, I'm talking to people who claim to be Christians, but yet they're willing to give up on their marriage and on their kids, putting their children through hell. And one thing, let me tell you something. One thing I did not do, I did not allow with my wife. I did not allow her to put my children through hell with her foolishness. Okay? My wife is not saved. She's not born again. She's religious. And so that was a problem and is a problem. But as the head of the household, I told her before we got married that we're not going to do it my parents' way or her parents' way. Her parents were already divorced at that time. My parents did not get a divorce, but it was a hellacious marriage because my mother ran the show. And I got family members who are mad at me for saying that. I love my mother. I love my father. I believe my father was the most loving man, as far as I'm concerned, in the history of the world outside of Jesus Christ and maybe the apostles. He was too loving. He loved me too much. Do you hear me? Look me in my eyes and see if I'm playing. My dad loved me too much. He loved my mother too much, and he loved my siblings way too much because they got away with some other things. And of course, he loved the girls more. That's fine. I'm okay with that. It's just a bond there. But he loved us all too much because we were the classic Brady Bunch family at church. Never prayed together at the house, never read the Bible. Classic black family, Brady Bunch family. In the words of Niles Crane, we put on the Brady Bunch smile, and we were told to do so. Fuss and raise hell all the way to church, but get out and like we ain't said nothing, ain't done nothing. Haven't prayed, haven't read the Bible together, nothing. Yeah, we didn't even know to do that. Now, my mother, I guarantee you, she would say, oh, we did some of that, we did this and the other. And that's not true. We didn't. They didn't know. They didn't know to do that. They were never taught that. They never heard anything about devotionals, having a devotional life. They learned later on after I got saved. They came into the light. God used me to bring family members into the light. They saw how I got saved and born again. They said, we don't have that, what he has. And they don't bother me too much because they know something happened to me. They don't, many of them don't know what, but something happened to that boy. Something happened to Danny boy, for real. He got saved. And you would think they would be happy for me, but they weren't. My mother should have been my greatest cheerleader, but it was my dad who was my greatest cheerleader. My mother got into that bag of being in competition, wanting to be greater than her child and all of that kind of foolishness. That's a sickness for some of you parents, wanting to be better than your child and can't even touch. Listen to me. Can't even touch your child. You get it? Okay. Now, for example, and you don't need to be trying. I have never been a businessman. I learned business from the Mennonite people. I learned that because I saw how they did. They would start a family business, and then they would use the family business to tithe and give to the church and do missions. They never went out asking people to help them. They went to the bank. Okay, they were the Mennonites. I learned that from some Mennonites right in the town I'm in right now. And so God led me to start a business with my family. And I did that. And my daughter Daniela Danny Whyte learned it so well. She has all kinds of degrees, and just as many degrees as I have. But she has a better business mind than I have. I was called to be a prophet, an evangelist, and that's all I'm focused on. I started the business to support the ministry, like the Mennonites do. And my children did the work and did the business, which is evident because I don't know how to do anything. I had the vision for it. And so she's a better business person than I'll ever be. I'm not envious of her. I'm not jealous. I thank God for that. Because guess who's supporting the old prophet Papa now and leading the way? My daughter, Daniela, Danny Whyte, and my baby daughter, Danielle Elizabeth Breedlove Whyte. Okay? And they're leading the other children to help me in the ministry. I'm here